Okay, good. All right.
Okay, so we're rolling. This is for our community. So for everybody who's listening, this is Josh Stiles. He's the founder and designer of Shamma Elite Sandals. And we are having him on as a guest today to, first of all, talk about the Numa sandal that he is introducing recently, and also all about sandals and running. And so we're trying to invite as many natural shoe brand founders and owners and designers on to share with our community members, just to have question and answer sessions, to learn more about the shoes, and to just dig into our community of natural footwear enthusiasts a little deeper. So Josh, I was just going to turn it over to you to talk about the Numa sandal, and then we can use the last part of the call for question and answer.
Sounds great. Well, Ruth, thanks for having me on. And Liz, it's nice to meet you. And yeah, so I think I started contacting you, Ruth, just about our newest sandal, our latest and greatest. It's called the Numa. And I'll just start with the name. So it's like the same word. We're spelling it Numa, but it's just a play off of the word pneumatic. And pneuma comes from the Greek. At least I'm sure there's Latin, and it's very similar, Greek or Latin. But the word is used for breath or wind or spirit. And so it's sort of this incorporeal, like this unseen force that they would use for those ideas. And so we thought it's perfect because Numa is extremely lightweight, and the feeling of the Numa, hopefully I don't mess up the sound here. I'm just going to scoot there we go. I think I can do this. All right. I don't want to make a bunch of extra noises. Sorry. Okay. I need two hands. Now I can use two hands. So the deal with Numa is it incorporates this elastic strap into the forefoot section or the front of the sandal. And it's kind of a big deal, I think. I think it's a really big deal. And I'll explain why in a minute, but I think maybe just talking about where this sandal started and the use of elastic. The first sandal that I ever really enjoyed was this sandal from a company called Luna. And this was like 13 years ago now. And it was called the Equus. And it was just like this strip of elastic web, or this elastic, and it was covered in leather. And you tie a little knot underneath the sandal, under your toes, and then you tie it around your foot. And then you would tie a little bow on the top of your foot. They didn't look, we'll just say, like for me, they didn't look super masculine, and but I didn't care. I loved them. They were great. I ran around with my little bow on the top of my foot, and I didn't care what people thought. But they were phenomenal sandals. I just really enjoyed them. And it's like it was the sandal I was wearing when it kind of dawned on me, because I'd been wearing like Merrell Trail Glove, and I'd been wearing Vibram KSOs, and just running like crazy in those for months. And then in the fall and the winter, and then this was the spring after I'd learned the minimalist thing, I was wearing those sandals, and I'd go out on a run into the woods, and I was like, should I be doing this? Is this safe? Is it possible I could have my foot uncovered? Is that okay? Like the police are going to come out and get me because you're supposed to have something covering your foot. And the more I would do it, the more I'm like, no, of course, this is awesome. I loved it. I was having so much fun, and it kind of culminated, and I've shared this story a number of times. I don't know if I've shared it with you, Ruth, but it kind of culminated in the end of that summer. My wife and we went on this trip to Lake Tahoe. It's this huge lake here in California. It's a great recreation area in the Sierra Nevadas. And it was our little anniversary trip. And I ended up running like, what was it? We like hiked in a couple miles. We went swimming. We ran like 9 miles along Lake Tahoe. It was just amazing. Came back. All told, it's like this 14-mile adventure of hiking and running and swimming. We had a great time. And I was like, man, sandals are so cool and they're so much fun for, wearing and running and all your outdoor adventure stuff. Well, and then I didn't really start Shamma in earnest until that was like 2011. I didn't start Shamma until like the very end or beginning of 2013. So it was kind of on the shelf for a while. And then when I started up, I was making sandals that had some elastic in the heel strap, but the rest of the lacing system was solid. And there just wasn't much of an advantage. I didn't feel that connection or connectedness in a responsiveness that I really wanted, that I thought I would get with elastic. Sometimes with elastic, the sandal will just kind of stretch a little bit too much, and you don't get that connection and that responsiveness you need, especially when you're running. And so I just it was like on the back burner, and we kind of dropped it from our sandals, and we developed our sandals, for a lot of adjustment, in a lot of different ways over the years. And we have some really rock solid designs like Trail Star and the Elite Lacing System, even our Supers, all of them, but they're all solid. None of them are elastic. And a couple people last year, one person in particular, Mark Bell, who runs the Power Project, we've been doing a co-branded sandal with them, and everyone always has some idea or their 2 cents on like what you should do with your sandals. And I appreciate that. Like, I'm the same way, or your footwear, whatever it is. But like for me, this is as much as it is a business and, like taking care of my family and my kids and all that, it's also a passion thing, right? I want these sandals to work on your feet when you run and you hike and all of that. And I have very high standards. And Mark was like, well, don't you think, couldn't you do something with elastic? And I'm like, I've tried that. It didn't work that well. It wasn't a big deal. Well, I really do try to listen to people. It might not always seem like that, but I want to hear the feedback and hear the other perspectives. And I'm like, okay, Mark's right. Another guy mentioned it too. And I go, well, I'll try it again. We'll try another thing. And TK, who's been with Shamma for years, he's kind of moved into more of a development role. And by the way, if you get our boots, he made them by hand, and if they're awesome. But did you want to say something, Ruth?
I said, don't get me started about that beautiful boot.
They're amazing. But so TK, I'm like, all right, TK, give it a shot. See what you can do with this elastic. And we had some elastic that had literally been sitting there for like 8 years, and we hadn't really used it. And he's a very clever guy. He came up with taking, this buckle here. This buckle we use on our 4th generation lacing system, which we use in our Super collection. We also used it prior to that in sort of the development of the Elite lacing system. But he took this buckle and he turned it on its side, and it normally is in the opposite orientation. It sits on the top of the foot like that, kind of. And he ran some elastic through it, and he had this kind of crazy setup, and he was wearing them. And he's like, I really like them. I really like them. So we kind of toyed with that idea, but the way he had it set up, we couldn't get the elastic around the whole sandal. And then we spent probably from April till about the middle, maybe the beginning of September, just trying all kinds of configurations. We even had one where the elastic wrapped around the entire sandal. So the problem we were having is he'd found different ways to kind of control and move the elastic. And that's one thing. So you've got elastic, but now how are you going to control it? How can you adjust it? How can it work with your foot? And we had something set up to where the elastic because elastic, if it gets bound up in one place, then it's hard to adjust. And so we had it moving smooth around the foot, and I wore them. I ran in them. They were terrible. I hated them because too much elastic is just too much. And the sandal's like unwieldy and flopping around. And then I just decided, you know what? So and this is where I want to like, I want to keep our contributions, so I want to give credit where credit's due. And then where I kind of came back on the design and helped out with it was to say, oh, you know what? We can put this on the Elite lacing system. We're just going to modify it. So if you take a look here, what we've done is this is the insole post for the Elite lacing system. And we removed the front 5/8 of an inch of the Y post. And now we've inserted the elastic here. So the anchor point is here. And then we just wrap around to the outside. And then we have this single bar tension lock, which is just a modified buckle from our cruiser collection. And so the funny thing is, this sandal really became it's like a parts bin sandal, which is kind of funny. The only new thing is the elastic. So we had that elastic I was telling you about that we used for our sampling, but then we worked with an American elastic manufacturer back east, and they made up this awesome elastic for us, which has a great, has the right amount of tension to it and finish, really nice stuff. And then we're making it work basically with our Elite lacing system. The rest is kind of a parts bin thing. And I use that term because I like cars, and I watched Jay Leno's Garage, and he was talking about the original Bronco. You like that show? And the original Bronco was just like all these parts that Ford had on hand, and they're like, here's an SUV, and they sent it out. So I really like the idea. So there's like a couple things. Like one is, if you make something, can you repeat it? It's like maybe it works, but can you repeat that? And the really cool thing about this is we're really set up well to produce this because of all of our equipment, our tooling. You were here last summer, Ruth, and you saw that big sewing machine.
Yeah.
So we were able to incorporate this into the big sewing machine without even buying new tools. We just changed some patterns, and it's been a really cool thing. So, and we have the parts, and it works. So anyways, that's kind of the design, and maybe that was more than you wanted, but that was kind of the design aspect and production. As far as the sandal itself, what is so neat about it is that there's a couple really cool things. And this, to me, the Numa is one of these products where you get it and it's good, but you don't quite know everything it can do yet. It takes you time to figure it out. Well, for starters, the neat thing is that we have a really good balance between elastic and like a solid backstop, I'll call, with the Elite lacing system. So the Elite lacing system is very comfortable, and it gives you really easy adjustment. It keeps the heel strap where you want it, all of that stuff. And now the front of the sandal, it feels like it's not there. It doesn't feel like it's on your foot. I mean, you can perceive it, but you'll forget about it a lot of the time, which is so cool in my mind. Because that's what we're striving for with our footwear, right? Because we know, and I'll readily admit, that barefoot is the best thing you can do for your foot and your health and movement and all of that. I'm never going to deny that. I think that's important. So I think we're always like trying to catch up with the human body and nature. We're not going to exceed it. I think that's true in a lot of areas of life. But so in terms of this is different than I think anything else on the market because it's so comfortable, for starters. And then the point of elastic, and just thinking about elastic, thinking about our body in general, like why barefoot is comfortable and good for you is because like when modern footwear, it, like for instance, arch support, it's cutting out the arch. Now arch is meant to compress. It's a spring. So you compress a spring, you're loading energy. That energy is ready to be used. It's used as you step forward and it goes out the big toe. Like those are good things. Well, here now the sandal is working with your foot and the elastic is kind of collecting some of that energy. And so what it's doing in this case is it's keeping your foot closer to the sandal, for a longer period of time. It's just keeping you more connected, and you don't have to have the sandal on as tight as you do. Like, I'm going to say most of the sandals out there, even our elite lacing system. So if you want the elite lacing system to really be snugged up to your foot, you're going to tighten it a little more. Like when you run, you're going to tighten these a little more, but in general, you just don't need them as tight, which is really cool. So the other thing is, think about it like this. The heel strap, where it feels to me, this is just like anecdotal, I can't prove it, but I think most of the efforts to put elastic on a sandal have been in the heel strap. That's like the first place people go. You got this nice little straight section back there. It's easy. And that's what we were thinking about doing too. And we have done in the past. But if you think about it, the heel is not a dynamic mover on the foot. It stays pretty stationary. You've got the Achilles tendon moving a little bit, but by and large, there's not a lot of movement there. The foot, right, the forefoot, all over the metatarsals, they have to expand with each step, whether you're walking or you're running. They build the arch, then the arch pushes down on impact. You've got the compression cycle, you've got the toes moving. So if you really want to free up the foot and give it a place for elastic comfort, it's the forefoot. And we didn't really think about that at first. It was just like, how do we put elastic on? And so I'd like to say, oh yeah, we had all this stuff figured out beforehand, but you try stuff and you figure it out. So I think that's like kind of one of the really neat things about this sandal and why it's as innovative as it is and why it just feels comfortable. The next thing is there's a lot of really cool things, but just the way we have the integration of the elastic, it's a very smooth fit. It's even smoother, I think, than the elite lacing system on the insole post. This buckle on the top. So, the first thing people are going to do, they're going to try and control where it goes on the top of their foot, and you can't. The elastic's going to move and slide in there, which is actually great, which it means it's self-adjusting. This thing just kind of finds its place in between your toes, the right spot, and you just go with it. So fewer adjustments. You're really just making the adjustment on the heel strap and the amount of tension you have in the forefoot strap, which is great. So it's going to be simpler for customers. There's no front to back adjustment on these. We were talking about, and we would like to have the ability to move it up and down on the foot, but we haven't figured that out yet. Maybe we will someday, maybe we won't. But who knows, that might happen. But in the meantime, we've picked a point that's like a central location for most feet, and it's been working great. It's very comfortable. And so you don't have to adjust front to back. So I think for the average customer, this is just going to be a quicker, easier experience relative to our elite lacing system, which I love. A lot of people love it. It's been super popular for years. I will admit that it's challenging for people to adjust the forefoot strap because you can adjust it anywhere. You have total control, but the more control you have, the more a person has to actually learn. And a lot of people just aren't willing to learn anything anymore, sadly. It's like, the Instagram attention span is just destroying us as a people.
Yeah.
Anyways, I think we're going to end up like the movie Idiocracy. I don't know if you've seen that one, but
Yes, I have.
it's incredible. It's very, very prescient. So you got all of that. And then here's another thing about the strap that is really cool. So we're sending people with a generous length of strap. Once you make your adjustment, we're asking people to cut it, to trim it right here about where the heel or where the sole is. And then you can adjust it again, cut it some more later. But we would like people to make sure that it's, adjusted well, wear it for like a week or two, and then trim it a little more to what, you're comfortable with. But that means you're going to get a custom fit every time. Every customer will. And then finally, I've got some reels showing this. And this was like, TK, he's like, we did a reel in the workshop and just said, how do you put your Numas on?
I saw that.
Yeah. And so like, I was like, okay, sure. I just reached down and I put them on. And TK is like, no, this is how I do it. I'm telling you, he's so stinking clever. Um, and he's like, look, you don't even need to use your hands. And it didn't dawn on me for like a couple days of doing it. I'm like, this is amazing because I actually think it's good for people
Bend down.
to bend down, yes, and use their hands and like be able to stretch and put your shoes on. But the fact of the matter is, not only are people not willing to learn, they're really lazy, and people just want to slip their foot in and go and shuffle around. They'll do that, right?
Yeah.
That's what happens in flip flops all the time and slides. But with these, you literally just put your toe on the heel, hold it down, and you slip your foot in. And I'm just going to mimic it. Because of the elastic, you can pull your foot way forward
Oh.
and just dunk your heel in, and you're adjusted and you go. It's that easy. You don't bend over, and it's kind of amazing. It's a really cool sandal. So
It is cool. So when
yeah,
it is true, right? Like, and I'm just going to turn your mic off while I ask a
sure.
question. So one of the things I noticed is that I saw that reel and I was like, that's so awesome that we can just slip it in. Cause I think like, I sometimes think it's not so much lazy, but like we just find loopholes to doing the most efficient thing, you know? And like you want to put your sandal on and go. I have a question for you. Like, how many miles have you logged running? And then can you slip your sandal in like that and then just go running? Or do you have to make adjustments for your run? Um, I mean, it is hard to fathom. I can't wait to try them out because it's hard to fathom that the quality of the elastic won't be too elasticy, you know? Like that's my brain is like, how's this going to work? So I'm excited to try it. And then I think you have to turn your mic back on.
That is a great question, Ruth. So I've run in these sandals probably 100 miles, um, maybe more, maybe 150 in just the variations since we've been testing this summer. And if you have your sandal already set up, like tension wise, yes, you could just drop your foot in and go. It's no problem. The question is, were you walking and did you want them a little looser because you were walking, and then you tightened them? So that's literally the only qualification I'll give you to that. Just how tense, because I like to tighten them up a little bit. Like the difference for me between running and walking is like, so if I'm running, I probably have the hook and loop all the way to
I
the
see.
end. And if I was walking, I might have it like, 3/4 of an inch back or something, just because it's more comfortable and I don't require, that connection. The deal with the sandal is, and I'll talk about limitations of it. The big limitation that I see for the sandal is weight. So we're not going to put these on an ibex. An ibex would be too heavy and it would stretch. So you're talking about using warriors or chargers, but so far,
And just really quick for the people that don't know about what the Ibex and the Warrior are, we're talking about the thickness of the
yes,
sole, correct? So
yes,
the weight and the thickness of the sole you can have different custom designs. Or not
yes,
custom designs, but different designs for whatever you're using them for.
yeah. The way we've kind of like the elite lacing system has the most variety of all of our sandals because everything has its different limitations. But the elite lacing system, you could get anywhere with like Warrior is like a 5 mm sole with a 1 mm footbed, all the way up to an Ibex, which is like basically 12 or it's like 13 mm. And Ibex uses a material from Vibram called Zagama, which is basically like almost like a pure rubber, whereas Nuflex, which we use with Warrior, is like it's like 30 to 35% rubber, 65% EVA. And so what that means is the EVA is a lot lighter, it's open cell, and then you go up to pure rubber and it's a lot heavier. And so that's kind of the difference, and we have everything in between. Um, and so the heavier the sandal gets, the harder it's going to be to control with the elastic. But so those are a couple of the limitations. But we found out that it's been fine on our Maximus sandal. Maximus is an 8mm new flex. So Maximus is a great middle ground, and it may even work on Mountain Goat. I'm not sure yet. Definitely not Ibex, but we'll see. So yeah, it's been really pretty versatile so far, which is pretty awesome. And but especially when the thinner you go, the more you're like, and this is the cool thing, you've got this piece of soling material just kind of stuck on the bottom of your foot, which is kind of what you want, and you don't really feel it on the top. That's kind of what we've all wanted, for at least I have, for a long time, with my running and walking and all that. So,
Liz, what are you thinking, and do you have any questions? I want to hear what you think about this shoe.
I have dog growling in the background. If you hear that, they're having a good time. I guess, yeah, my initial thoughts were kind of what you were saying, Ruth. Like, is the elastic too elasticy? Like, it seems odd. I mean, if Josh can run in it, I trust that it's not as odd as I think it is. Yeah, I think my biggest two things for sandals, as far as, like, so I'm on my second pair of Earth Runners, and my two biggest issues are, one, apparently my feet are very sweaty, or maybe I just, like, get my sandals too wet and, like, they'll get slippery sometimes if, like,
yeah.
So I was getting the canvas footbed for the Earth Runners, which also traps some gunk, so that can make it more slippery. So my main concerns in sandals are, like, the grippiness, and also, like, how fast they wear down, because that is another reason I'm on my second pair. Is, like, I don't know if I twist my foot a little, or if I just run too much on rough surfaces, but I do wear down the part, like, right in the ball of my foot. And then when it gets thin, then I step on little pokey rocks, and then it hurts. And then I'm like, well, I got to get a new sandal now, I guess. Then I have to break it in, and it's just like a whole pain. So as far as running, those are my two the things I look for, I guess. So I'd be curious how the sandal holds up there.
Yeah, I have a good example of somebody that has run, one of our influencers. It's Dr. CJ Sawyer. He goes as, like, B Primal on Instagram. He's a really interesting guy. He's Australian, and he's in Colorado, and he's, like, running, 100 miles or whatever. He's doing, like, ultra marathon running and training. And he's been wearing our Warrior sandals with the Elite lacing for about probably since the summer. And really neat guy. And he put about 800 miles on his Warriors, and just gnarly terrain. And then I sent him a pair of the Numa with the same leather footbed Warrior and all that. And he did a review. You can check it out. It's on our Instagram page. And it's really, I'm blown away by it. But he's like, yeah, at first I was like, it's weird. Like, exactly what you were saying. Like, and that was my initial thought too, and initially when you start using them, you're like, I don't feel like they're really attached. So how do I deal with that, cognitively? And he did a 6-mile run, and he's like, wow, these are amazing. By the end of it, he goes, at first you don't feel like they're attached, but they stay with you. They move with your feet. And anyway, so I really am trying to tell people, and it's going to take time to figure out how to communicate it well, but it's a totally different experience. They just don't have to be as tight. But the deal is that most sandals, if you imagine, like, with your Earth Runners or even with the Elite lacing system, if it's not perfectly snug, right, each time you take a step, you're going to have this little bit of movement between your foot and the sandal because, again, your foot is dynamic, it's moving around, and you really shouldn't wear your sandals so tight that they're like cutting off the circulation and so it's absolutely glued on. You want to have a little bit of give. But that's the thing is Numa kind of provides that little bit of, it keeps the slack in check is basically what it's doing. And because the sandals are so light, it can do a really good job of that. The lighter the sandal, the better job it can do of that. So there's that. And as far as what you were saying, Liz, about your running, couple things like Numa can work with our power strap, which is like basically a over the ankle sort of strap where it's going to pull your foot in from the front of the ankle back towards the heel. And then you've got different types of footbed. We have this material on this one. It's called Grip Top. It's our Grip Top. And so it's like an anti-slip surface. We've got a pattern it's basically, the idea behind it is like a car tire. Your foot is the road and this thing is a car tire. So there's like little grooves and channeling to move water away. And then we also have it micro perforated. I don't know if you could see it, but there's little tiny, tiny holes in it so that it can absorb a little bit of moisture like leather does. So I personally really like leather as long as it's a dry condition, because leather is going to absorb some moisture and it'll actually get a little tackier while you're running around. So it does really good managing sweat and small amounts of moisture. And this is better if you're going to really get wet, running in. And in Minnesota, right, you got the land of 10,000 lakes. So you got to deal with water up there.
Yeah, a little bit.
Little bit. And mosquitoes, right?
Oh, yeah.
Oh my gosh. Josh, does so you said that was going to be my next question about the power strap.
Yeah.
Is the power strap then made of elastic or it's
no,
just the regular?
Just the regular one.
Okay.
We're just keeping it simple, and I've worn them and it's still, again, you don't feel like there's much on the front of your foot, and that just gives you a little more control. But again, the ankle's not as dynamic as the forefoot, because of the movement of the arch or the building of the arch and compression. So,
so
yeah.
Interesting. I'm very excited.
Yeah, like I said, I'm really having fun with it. And just in terms of like, you go and you put them on, this year's going to be the biggest test. My wife, I don't know if you're married, Ruth. I don't know about you, Liz, but when you're married and your spouse gives you a suggestion, sometimes it's not always the easiest thing in the world to take that suggestion. I don't know what it is, but my wife has always been like a little standoffish about the sandals because it's like this whole thing in our lives. She's been wearing them the last few days and she's like, yeah, they're really good. They're really good. Like, kind of begrudgingly. And she really liked how she was just able to slip her foot in, and it comes down to convenience, right? Like you said, these shortcuts, we have these shortcuts, and she's really been enjoying them. And I think that's like the best, best mark I could get.
Yeah, the best testimonial, right?
Yeah.
What do you think? So I wanted to just see if Liz had any other questions or anything else
Sure.
you wanted to add. And then I was going to propose that once I get the sandals and give them a shot, because, I'm kind of I'm like a born again wannabe runner.
Yeah.
And I don't have an interest in doing long distance, but I do love to run and I want to run pain-free. So I do a little bit of running barefoot, and then I want to do a comparison test, and then maybe we can meet again after we try them, and maybe
Sure.
Liz can get a pair too. Because she puts in what kind of mileage are you doing, Liz? And we could just come back and ask questions, and maybe other people will join as well. And also you're having a Black Friday sale, right?
We started our pre-Black Friday sale. So the deal with that is it's a really good deal, not quite the best, because it's better to shop now and then spend time with your family, right? So if you want the best deal, you got to ignore your family over the weekend. But maybe some people want to do that. It just depends on your home situation. Um, but yeah, that's going on right now. So if people are interested, there are really good deals right now on just about everything. Numa is not going to be on sale. That's at least so far. That's our plan. Just because it's new, we don't like to put our new products on sale. But you probably won't see it on sale until maybe next summer. We'll see.
But and you're actually shipping, or you're just pre-ordering?
No, we're shipping. We've been shipping for a few weeks. We kind of got the elastic sooner than we thought we would. We didn't think we were going to get it until the end of November, but the manufacturer did. It's all about relationship and just working that relationship with them. And he was really good enough to like send us a box, and he moved us up in line, and just they've been great. So that's been huge. I wanted to say one thing, like for Liz and the running, and just I don't think Numa's not the answer for everyone in every situation and all that. I think it's just going to be more accessible and all that. But we have one of our influencers. His name is Matt Graham. He was the host of Dual Survivor on NBC years ago, and it was like they dropped one guy in the woods with a bunch of gear and the other guy with a knife and some sandals. He was the guy with the knife and the sandals. He's got a really cool Instagram page. Follow him. But he's been running in my sandals a ton since last summer. And he's been liking Numa. He's been saying like, technically he still likes the, more distance runs, he still likes the Elite better. And I think that's going to be the case. The Elite is like your highest level of control, and it's your most, like hardcore option. And then Numa is going to be something that is a great place to start, and you'll have a lot of really good experiences in. And it's going to be a little different, but it was interesting. I was really surprised with B Primal how he was really like struggling whether or not to run in his Elites or his Numas. I was shocked by that, but we originally, Numa was about lifestyle, but we're seeing it has some really cool performance applications. So.
Oh, that's so. Liz, did you want to ask any questions?
I don't think I have any more questions. Just absorbing it all.
Josh, what about sizing? Do you have any advice or tips or anything when people are trying to get the right size?
Yes. We just always recommend like an eighth of an inch on each end of the sandal, or maybe up to a quarter inch, but no more than that. We really recommend printing out the PDF so you can put your foot on and see what the sandal will be. That's number one. If not, then just use the chart and the ruler. But yeah, I think that's really the main thing for most people. And if you're not sure about it, you can always take a picture of your foot on the template or measurements, send it to contact@shammasandals.com, and we'll help you out. That's just the nature of this kind of business.
Okay. Well, thank you so much for coming on today and doing this with us. And maybe we can do it again in a month, and we'll have a conversation once I've had a chance to put in a few miles in them.
That would be great. And it's just been a lot of fun. It's like great to meet you, Liz. And it's always fun to talk with you, Ruth.
Yeah.
And I was going to say, even though we're not putting Numa on sale, we, if you use the Foot Collective code, right, you can get 10% off. So that's going to be your option for getting some, a better price on Numa, at least for we don't know when. And then after this conversation, I'm going to drive across town and put my Numas on, and my wife and I are going to do a nice little 6-mile run in the woods.
Yeah.
And I'm really looking forward to that. And someday, maybe Ruth, either here or in Mobile, Alabama, we'll go on a run together. That'd be amazing.
I'm going to be back in your neck of the woods in December, and then again,
let's do it.
So I will come and see you.
Yes, that sounds amazing.
Okay.
Josh, where are you located?
We are in Santa Cruz, California. So it's like San Francisco and then 80 miles south on the top of the Monterey Bay.
Cool.
Yeah. And our factory is like, we're like a mile and a half from the beach.
Nice.
Wait, are you going to Anya's try-on event in May?
I will be there.
Liz might be there, pretty sure, and we're going to be there too. So I'll see you there as well. December, May, and the summer.
I'm looking forward to it. Well, we went last year and it was a ton of fun. It was so cool to like actually be in the room with all these people that are interested in that kind of thing.
It's going to be a great time. I'm really excited. I did
Me
not
too.
get to go last year, and I've been waiting.
Well, hopefully we'll see each other there, and maybe we can even talk Nick into coming down there too, right?
I think I heard that he was thinking about it.
Oh,
I'm pretty sure I could say that, he was getting ready to have a baby.
yes.
And I think it's okay for me to say that the baby came.
Oh, really? Congratulations to the
That's
two
all
of
I'm
them.
going to say, because I don't know if he wanted to put the announcement out himself, but
Okay,
I just did. Because how can you like hold that in? It's so amazing.
that's wonderful. I'm really happy for them.
Yes.
Yeah, I've actually gotten to text a little bit with the mother, and I have Natasha. She seems like a really neat person, and
really
so
cool.
I'm really happy for them.
Yeah, me too. Okay, well, I'm going to end this recording and then say bye and thank you to all who were listening to a very detailed discussion about Shamma Numa sandals. It's what we love. It's what we love to nerd out on. So thank you for coming, Josh.
Well, thanks for having me.